Hello. Welcome to the episode 1 of Power of PowerBi series presented to you by the Visual Appeal. In this episode, we will discuss about the functionalities of Power Query Editor. Many data analysts talk about the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time is actually spent on cleaning up the data, massaging the data, reducing the noise around the data. It is only the remaining 20% that is spent on actually analyzing the data. Power Query Editor equips us with a set of tools which helps us clean the data and make the data ready for analysis in a jiffy. So why don't we jump right ahead and see the different columns in the dataset Coffee Connections.
This dataset is called Coffee Connections. And like I told you before, let's assume that we have surveyed around 850 Starbucks customers and we've collected the results. So we have here the date of survey, gender, age category of the Starbucks customer, employment status. We have the frequency of visit, mode of visit, time spent in Starbucks, nearest Starbucks, the beverage that they ordered, and every respondent was presented with the same set of 7 questions that you can see on the screen right now. And they were requested to share their ratings from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest.
Now that we understand different parameters in our dataset Coffee Connections, I think it's time to upload the dataset in Power BI and actually use Power Query Editor.
We have to upload base data into Power BI to perform any kind of analysis. We will click on Get Data option right here. I will also click on the More option just to show the wide array of data sources that can be used, be it Excel, CSV stored locally, or SharePoint, or literally any DBMS connector can be used to pull in data into Power BI. I always recommend using a SharePoint or any online source of data mapping, simply because if there are any changes made in the base data, the Power BI dashboard can be updated on a real-time basis by just hitting the refresh button right here. The refresh button gets activated once data is uploaded on Power BI. However, if the data is going to be static, like in our case, Coffee Connections dataset contains results of survey that has already been conducted and there are no further changes to be made to the base data, we can probably upload Excel from our device. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on Excel Workbook. I'm going to select Coffee Connections dataset, hit Open. I see the workbook has 2 worksheets. I'm going to click on Survey Results. So it's very important to know where your base data is exactly located. If you click on Load, it will load the base data into Power BI directly. But if you hit on Transform Data, it opens the Power Query Editor. I hit on Transform Data. Power Query Editor is here. On the right, you can see the name of the worksheet, and Applied Steps here is a very interesting feature. It shows workflow of what actions have been performed to the base data in a very chronological order. Now, when I look at the base data, the Starbucks customer survey results was meant to be a heading, but it is now taken as a column header. I do not want that. So I have to remove a few steps from the applied steps to achieve that. But when you do remove steps from the applied steps, you have to remove them chronologically. So I remove the last 2 steps. Now I see that the first 3 rows of my base data are pretty redundant. I want to remove the first 3 rows. I can achieve that by clicking on Remove Rows. And I say Remove Top Rows. I specify the number of top rows to be removed, which is 3. And I hit on OK. Perfect. Now the top 3 rows are gone and the applied steps on the right are updated. I want to use the first row of this table as a header. So I click on Use First Row as Headers. Done. Now let's see what we can analyze using the date of survey column. Maybe we want to know how old the survey is, the age of the survey. I have the date of survey column selected here. I can do that by just clicking on the header. I go to add column. I select date and I click on age. I get the age, but I get it in hours. I want to transform that into days. So I have the age column selected right here. I go to the transform ribbon and I select on duration, which is right here. And I select days. So I got the age of the survey in days. What we can also do from the date of survey column is to extract just the year of survey. Probably I'm not interested in the exact date and month of the survey, and I want to extract just the year of the survey. I again select the column, go to add column ribbon, select date, and come to year and select year. It gives me the year of the survey, which is 2022, 2019, 2018, and so on. All right, let's move on to the next column. The gender column shows F and M. Maybe I want to rename the values as female and male instead of just F and M. I can do that by find and replace, just like in Excel. So I'm going to right click on the gender column, click on the replace values. I'm going to say find F, replace with female, hit on OK. I'm going to do the same thing for male. I'm going to right click, replace values, find M, replace with male. All right, now that's done. When we use find and replace option, I'm sure most of you would have noticed a few similar options in the menu. Let's go through that one by one. The copy copies the column, remove removes the column. Remove other columns keeps the column selected and removes all of the columns. Duplicate column obviously duplicates the columns. Let's jump down. This changes the type of the column from text to whole number or decimal number, date, or time. The transform option changes the text to, let's say, uppercase or lowercase. When I select uppercase, the entire column gets all uppercase texts. Same is the case with capitalize each word, trim reduces unnecessary gap, and so on. We saw replace values. Okay, we'll probably move on to see split column. I can explain that better with employment status. When we look at employment status column, we see a few unnecessary identifiers like SL, IL, OL. Maybe it helped people who actually did the survey, but I just want student, employed, self-employed category, and I am not really interested in the SL, IL, OL identifiers. So in Excel, I'm sure most of us are familiar with the delimiters function. We are going to do something very similar. We are going to split column. You can see that in the home ribbon, here is split column. I'm going to use delimiter. The delimiter I'm going to use is the hyphen. I'm going to say custom delimiter, a hyphen, split at each occurrence, and hit on OK. It separates into two columns. So I can conveniently delete the second column because I don't want it. I right click and hit on remove. To rename a column, I just double click on the header and I can rename a column. All right. And all along, you can see applied steps being documented for every single move that I make. Let's see what else can be done. As I move forward, I see an empty column right here. You can remove that column by using remove columns right in the home ribbon. As we proceed, I see two columns, the question column and the ratings column. All the questions appear in one column and all the ratings appear in another. I think I would prefer if questions can come as column headers and the corresponding ratings can go beneath them. You can do that by selecting the two columns, question and ratings. Go to the transform ribbon and choose this option called the pivot column. When we do that, it prompts for us to select the values column. The values column is obviously going to be the ratings because the other column is the text column. We hit on OK. Now I can see that the questions appear as column headers and the corresponding ratings appear as rows. This makes my analysis easy. Before we move on to DAX measures, I want to demonstrate the group by feature in Power Query Editor. For that, I'm duplicating the existing data set, which is survey results. I'm right-clicking on survey results, selecting duplicate. And I would like to rename this as survey results summary because the group by feature gives us a snapshot of what exactly is going on in the data. It gives us a summary. I'm going to select group by in the transform ribbon. I'm going to go for the advanced group by so that I group it by various parameters, not just one. The first parameter I'm going to select is the employment status. I will also add the age category. So when we group the entire data set by these two parameters, let's see what else we want to show in the snapshot. The count of rows will ideally give us the number of respondents in each category. Let's add one more aggregation. If we want to know the average distance traveled by the respondents in each category, which is employment status and age category, we can identify that. Average distance traveled will be the name of the column. The operation that we will be performing is average. So the operations are nothing but sum, average, median, minimum, maximum of the column that you're going to choose in the next category. You're going to find the average of nearest Starbucks in miles to help understand the distance traveled by each respondent. You can also calculate the minimum time spent by respondents in each category. For this, I will choose minimum and time spent in Starbucks. When I hit OK, we're going to see a very condensed version of what was going on in the data. We have segregated the entire data on the basis of employment status, on the basis of age category, and we have the number of respondents in each category. We also have the average distance traveled by the Starbucks customer and the minimum time spent during each of their visits.
I hope you found that useful. Off to episode 2 on DAX measures. Happy learning and see you in the next video.